Hello, everyone. This is the third part of knitting the jumper. You can find the first two in the links below the video. It will be in the knitting studio in style. Well, I have knit 33 rows. Here I have finished my row. I need to turn my work now and move on to the 34th row I have on the front, along with the ribbing, about 35 to 36 centimeters. After the 34th row, I will start the separation. That means I will knit the front separately and the back separately. So, we are dividing our piece. I have turned my work. Now I am transferring all the heart stitches to the right needle, and also part of the front. That is, I will transfer all the stitches up to the side marker to the right needle. Then, with the help of a needle, stepping with the tip and wide eye, I transferred all the back stitches. That is 91 stitches onto the pink thread. I tied the thread so that the back wouldn't unravel. We will knit it later. We have the front left. Now we will knit back and forth. So we finished on the 33rd row. Now we need to knit the 34th row. Here we have the start of the work. But now I will transfer all the stitches like this onto the right needle. That is, I will reach this point. From the wrong side, we will knit the 34th row. I transferred 21 stitches. I should note that we already removed the side markers. They are not needed, since we can see that we have the front separately and the back separately. Turning the work. Now we will knit the 34th row. We see that we have the burgundy thread here. The beige thread is right here. Now, when we knit the turning intarsia, we will need 2 skeins of beige thread. Here we have it as it was before. That is, we will knit 21 stitches on the sides and 51 stitches of the heart in the 34th row. Here, I take a separate thread. The first edge stitch, yes, we usually slip, but since I'm introducing the thread, I will knit it purlwise. Next, I will just be slipping. We knit purlwise until the heart. We have knitted 21 stitches. Now we need to knit the heart. Here, as usual, we cross the threads, as we did before, and right away we have burgundy. We knit 51 purl stitches of the heart with the burgundy thread. We completed the heart, and now here we immediately have the beige thread from the old skein. We also twist the threads and immediately knit this part of the front. These stitches are purlwise. We knit the last edge stitch purlwise. We also knitted 21 purl stitches and turned the work. Now we will just knit turning rows from one edge marker to the next side marker. That is, we will knit the entire front straight, and the beginning of the row will be right here. Now we knit the 35th row. It is odd, so we will knit with knit stitches. Thus, as before, our odd rows are knit, and even rows are purl. Here we slip the edge stitch and knit knitwise until the heart. We knitted 21 knit stitches. Now we are knitting the heart, and we immediately have the burgundy thread here. Thus, we place the old one on top and take the burgundy from underneath. That is, we twist as always and knit 51 stitches of the heart with the burgundy color. We finished knitting the heart, and we have the thread from the second skein here. Now we immediately knit this beige part. We also cross the threads and knit 21 stitches with beige color. Here I knit the last edge stitch purlwise using the grandmother's method. Alright, we have knitted the front row. We turn the knitting and start on row 36. We have turned the knitting, and now I will not show how this all is knitted. Here, everything is elementary. That is, this part of beige color comes from one skein. This part is knitted from the second one. The heart is knitted back and forth from one skein. Here is the yarn, and here we have the wrong side row. We begin. It is right here. We knit the wrong side stitches. Next, we immediately knit the heart. Here is the yarn, and here we have the yarn from the second beige skein. We also knit with wrong side stitches. We turn it, and all the yarns are already there. So here, everything is really simple. We are knitting in rows back and forth, some right side, some wrong side. Well then, now we will knit row 36, and continue analogous to row 41. Up to this point, I will show how we will add the heart shaping. Also later, we will need to add one more beige yarn. Well, I have knitted 40 rows, and now I need to knit row 41. It is an odd row, so we will do it right side as usual. So what do we have in row 41? 21 stitches, then 1 stitch in beige color, and 49 stitches in burgundy, knitting 21 stitches in the right side. My grandmother knitted 21 stitches. This includes the edge stitch, of course. And we need to knit one more stitch in beige color. Thus, we are knitting a burgundy stitch with the beige yarn. We knitted it. After this, we simply twist the yarns, as usual, and continue with 49 stitches in burgundy. So we already have a reduction. More beige stitches, a bit fewer burgundy. Yes, the heart is already decreasing. 49 stitches have been knitted, and now we have one unknitted stitch. We are changing the yarn color. We take this yarn from this section and knit one stitch. Yes, we knitted it. After that, we knit 21 stitches in beige. This will be until the end of the row, including the edge stitch. The last 21st stitch we knit as usual, purl. We have all knitted the 41st row. Next, we simply knit the 42nd and 43rd rows straight. However, we alternate, knitting either knit or purl. Now we will knit the 42nd row in purl. That's it, we will meet again in the 44th row. So friends, we knit the 44th row as usual. From the side marker at the front, we knit 21 stitches. Then 2 stitches in beige. After that, 23 stitches in burgundy and 1 stitch in beige. That is, here we are inserting the new color. Well, let's first knit 21 stitches and then 2 stitches in beige. I have knitted 21 purl. Now I need to knit 2 stitches in beige. 1, and the second needs to be knitted instead of this burgundy. So, I immediately knit with the beige yarn. Now we need to change the yarns. Yes, now we will knit with burgundy. That is, we lay the beige on top and take the burgundy. This way, we will continue to knit in burgundy. I have knitted 23 purls. Now I need to knit 1 stitch with the new color. So, I lay this on top. Alright, we leave a tail to secure later. And we knit a purl in beige. We knitted, and now we are back to 23 stitches in burgundy. We knitted 23 stitches. 1 stitch remains in burgundy. Now I need to knit 2 stitches in beige and 21 stitches also in beige, so we change the yarn. 1 stitch in beige and the second, we knitted. Now there are 21 stitches left here with the beige yarn, as usual, on the sides. We have completed the 44th row. Now we will knit the 45th. This is a right side row for us, that's it. Similarly to how we knitted earlier, here we will knit 2 stitches in beige, for example. Then we will knit 22 stitches. There are 23 in burgundy, and here we will not knit 1 stitch in beige, but 3. So we change the color here by 1 step. Everything is changing. Therefore, we twist the yarns like we did before, so I won't show this again. Everything here is elementary. Just here is our 45th row. Here, all the yarns are basically, except for one. Here for this sector we have yarn at the beginning of the row. Then burgundy for this sector. Here, we inserted beige to begin increasing the number of beige stitches, that is, to knit the center of the heart. The only thing is, we do not have burgundy yarn here. After the center, after these beige yarns, we will knit 3 in this row, the 45th, and here, we will need to insert another burgundy yarn. We will add it, knit this sector, and here we go. We also have beige yarn here to finish this side. Inserting 1 more burgundy here, all the remaining rows will be knitted without problems. Each sector will have its own yarn. We are finishing our pattern. I won't show anymore. I think everything is clear to you. So I completed the pattern. I knitted 51 rows and then, after the heart, I knitted another 15 rows. It is just stockinette stitch, about 5 centimeters. Here, the diagram is no longer needed. Next, you'll see that I have 93 stitches ahead. In each row, I subtract 23 from the 93 stitches. I decided that I will close 23 stitches in the center. So that leaves 70. Next, I divide the 70 stitches into 2 parts. Since I will have an equal number of stitches here, I'll have 35 stitches on each side and will close the center now. So, I have a right side row now. I knit 35 right side stitches. Then, we will close the central part. We've knitted, and now we start to close 23 stitches. How do I close them? I slip the first stitch, knit the second one. I have a purl on the back loop, and then pull the slipped stitch over the knitted one. That's 1 stitch decreased. In the next we knit it and pull this stitch over the left one. The needle on the knitted stitch. That's 2 stitches decreased, now we've closed. Here we have 1 stitch left. I moved it to the left needle. Here, I have 35 stitches remaining. Now we will knit this side separately, and then we will knit this one. So now we are knitting effectively the right front. Yes, we will make a small decrease from the neckline. So now we knit the right side row to the end of the row. That's how I finished knitting. I slipped the first edge stitch as usual in turned knitting. I knitted the last one as a purl. Now we turn the knitting. We will have a wrong side row now. We will knit all wrong side rows straight without decreases. And in right side rows, we will make small decreases here at the neckline. So, I will consider this purl row as the first for convenience. We simply knit it as purl stitches. Let's move on to the second knit row. By the way, this part that we are not knitting now corresponds to the left front. Yes, it is constantly on the cable. I don't specifically transfer it to the yarn. In the purl row, we, as usual, slip the first stitch and knit the last one as a purl stitch in the traditional way, so the second row. Here, we will make our first decreases. For the first time I want to take off 3 stitches. We decrease from here as usual. Just like here. We knit the first stitch, Slip the second, knit the third, and pass the slip stitch over the knitted one. One stitch has been removed. Next, we knit the second stitch and pass it over. That's the second and third stitches. We took off 3 stitches. We finished the row to the end. The purl row is simply knit as pearls. So we have knitted 3 rows. Now this is the fourth. We have 32 stitches on the needles. This time I will decrease 2 stitches, the same thing. Slip the edge stitch, knit the second as a knit, and pass the slip stitch over the knitted one, and decrease the second. We have decreased 2 stitches, now we knit to the end, and simply purl, having knit 5 rows straight. We now have 30 stitches on the needles. I am taking off. I will decrease 1 stitch, slipping the first, knitting the second as a knit, and passing the slipped one over the knitted. That is, we made 1 decrease, and now we just knit to the end of the 6th row. In the 7th, we knit simply purl, as per the pattern. We have knitted 7 rows. Next, in the 8th row, we will also make 1 decrease. And for the 9th purl row, we will knit purl straight as usual. Next, I will just knit straight, with turning rows. I will have 28 stitches here. I will knit a bit, and then say how many rows I have done. I knitted 14 rows straight and transferred my 28 stitches to a spare thread. I tied a knot, and for now, let the stitches remain open. Just as I knitted this part, we will knit this one, accordingly. The only difference is that here the decreases will be in the purl rows on this side. Yes, just like here, we will first decrease 3 stitches, then 2, and once more 2 times 1 stitch each. Naturally, decreases will be every other row. We have finished the front. This means we knit this part straight until our sweater reaches the desired height on the front. After that, we will knit the back. The back is on the spare thread. Now, we will transfer all these stitches to the needles and knit straight with turning rows. How many rows do we need to knit? We finished around the armpits. This means our armpit starts right here. And how many rows do we need to knit? According to the scheme, we finished here, so we need to knit this whole part straight on the back. We will count how many rows we have left to knit. So, I have 18 rows left. Next we add to this. Number of rows equal to how many we used for the decreases here. I used 9 rows, plus this 1 row when we close the center stitches. So, that makes 10 rows, and plus 14 rows of these that we knitted straight. Hence, 24 rows plus 18 rows according to the scheme. That means I need to knit 42 rows straight. In principle, I need to knit up to this point. But we will not knit to the very end, since the back will also need a small dip. I knitted 36 rows, and did not knit 6 rows to the top of the back. Now, we will divide the fabric into 2 parts. We will close the center. We will knit according to the principle of the front, but on the back naturally, there will be less of a dip than on the front. After dividing the fabric and closing the center, we should have the same amount on each side as we do here on the front. So here I have 28 stitches, but after closing, I will make 5 decreases. After that, I will sew the remaining stitches, meaning we need to add 5 stitches to this number, which we will then decrease. I have 28 here. I will add 5, making 33. So, I take 33 stitches here, drop, and 33 on this side, 66. My total amount is 91. 91 stitches minus 66 gives 25 stitches. We will close 25 stitches. Right now, I am on the right side row. So, according to my calculations, I need to knit 33 stitches from this side. Then, we will close the center. 33 includes the edge stitch. We knitted 33 stitches. Now we will close the stitches. We need to close 25 stitches. We slip the first one, knit the second one, and pass the slipped stitch over the knit one. Just like we did at the front, one stitch closed. Next is a knit stitch and we pass over. The second stitch is closed, and so on. Until we have closed 25 stitches now, let's finish this side. Here we should have 33 stitches. Just like on this side, I have knitted 33 stitches. This includes the edge stitch. We knit the last edge stitch as usual, with a purl stitch in the grandmother's style. Now we will knit this side, and after that we will knit the opposite one, just like at the front. So, now we will make a decrease from this indentation a little right here. Now we turn the knitting. We knit purl stitches, just straight. Here we will have 33 purl stitches. This will be counted as the first row. We have knitted the purl row. Now we knit the second row. I consider it the second one. This is the front row. On this side, we will make 3 decreases. By the way, I have a different backside on the cord, just like we did on the front. Then we will connect it after we finish this part. So, we remove the first edge stitch. The second one we knit as a knit stitch. We place the removed stitch over the knitted one. We decreased 1 stitch. Next, we knit a knit stitch. We place it over. We decrease the second stitch. We need to decrease 3 stitches here, and the third. We made a decrease of 3 stitches and knit stitches to the end of the row. The edge stitch, as usual, is a purl stitch. So we finished the second row. We ended up with 30 stitches there. We turned the knitting. We knit the third row simply in purl stitches. We finished the third row. There were 30 stitches there. And the last edge stitch we knit, as always, with a purl stitch. We move on to the fourth row. Now in this row, we will decrease 2 stitches. Following the same principle, so, we decrease 2 stitches and knit the knit row. In this row, there will be 28 stitches. We finish the 4th row and knit the 5th row in purl stitches. Here, there will also be 28 stitches, so, well then. We finished 5 rows, and now the 6th row. This is the row in which we close the center. It turns out 6 rows we have, in essence, already knitted the back just like the front, and ended up with 28 stitches. Here on the front, I also have 28. So now the shoulders can be sewn. I will not sew them just yet, but I will leave these unclosed loops on the cord and will also knit this side. We have already knitted 1 row from this side when we closed the center. Yes, so we need to knit 5 more rows here. We immediately start with the wrong side row and do decreases. That's it. I will independently knit this part. Then we will sew the shoulders. Well, I have finished this side. Now it's time to make the seam. I have already made one. This is my shoulder seam from the wrong side like this. It looks like this too. We need to do it on this side, but I will not show it anymore. I have a separate video lesson. Here is the link above. Go and watch it. It is done very simply. Here you just need to turn these 2 panels. That is, with the wrong side up, the right side inside, and just sew. I sew using a hook. Watch the lesson, everything is clear there. So I have completed the shoulder seams and started on the sleeves. I have even knitted 1 sleeve already. Now, I will show you how I knitted, but I advise you to finish the neckline before knitting the sleeves. For example, I have already knitted 1 sleeve and see that I do not quite understand what length I need for the sleeve. Why? Because my neckline is not finished and the shoulder slips. It probably doesn't sit where it should sit. First, you need to tighten the neckline, and then knit the sleeves. I advise you this. But I will already do it this way. I will start knitting the second sleeve. And you see I haven't closed it yet. Here's the first one. I also won't close the second one. I will make the neckline. And then I will adjust the sleeve length. You first handle the neckline after you've sewn the shoulders. I have a lesson on how I will do the false edging. Here's the link. This is the same neckline. So this is completely according to the lesson. Take a look. Overall, this is like a continuation of the masterclass. I just swapped things around a little. So now you make the neckline. I will now show you how to knit the sleeve. I have already knitted one sleeve, you could say. And now we will knit the second. I knitted it in the round. You can make a seam here, but I decided, so I wouldn't have to deal with the seam, to simply knit in the round. The cord on the circular needles pulls constantly. What measurements do we need? This is the width of the arm right here, immediately from the armpit. That is, we will try on our sleeveless piece. Where it ends at this place, we measure the circumference of the arm. We also measure the circumference of the wrist right here. We try it on the sleeveless piece and see what the length is from the edge of the sleeveless piece to our wrist. What length do we need for the sleeve? All these data were measured with a measuring tape. Now let's do a bit of calculation. The circumference of the upper edge is 29 centimeters. To this number, I will add about 5 centimeters. It comes to 34 centimeters. Then, we convert 34 centimeters to stitches. That is, we multiply by the knitting density. This will be our stockinette stitch. Here, the stockinette stitch measures 2 stitches in 1 centimeter. Therefore, 34 centimeters multiplied by 2 stitches. I get 68 stitches. So initially I will cast on for the sleeve. I will be casting on this number of stitches. Next, how many stitches do we need to have? That is here. We measure the wrist circumference minus 15 centimeters. To this number, I add about 4 centimeters, I get 19. Also, we convert 19 centimeters into stitches. I multiply by the density that we have already calculated for the ribbing. Since here we will have ribbing, it will be 2 by 2. In 1 centimeter, there are 2.19 stitches. I multiply and get 41.61 stitches. Rounding, it comes out to be 42 stitches. But this number must be a multiple of 4. It is essential. Therefore, I wrote here 44 stitches. So initially I will cast on 68 stitches. I will knit the sleeve, decreasing, and I must end up with 44 stitches. Now we subtract the final number of stitches from the initial number of stitches. We get 24 stitches. That is, I need to decrease 24 stitches throughout the entire sleeve. Many decrease in different ways. But here, I want to decrease evenly, and in one row I will be decreasing 2 stitches, removing 2 stitches. I marked here that in one row, I will have 2 decreases. Accordingly, I need a total of 24 decreases. I divide by 2, I get 12 rows. So I will have 12 rows with 2 decreases in each. We have that sorted out. Next, we need to figure out how many rows we need to make these decreases 12 times. So, we measure the length of the sleeve without the ribbing. That is, from the top down to the wrist, to the place where we will start binding off the elastic band. For me, this is 40 centimeters, and the height of the elastic band is about 4.5 centimeters. We take 40 centimeters and multiply by the knitting density. This gives us the length of the sleeve. We will knit in stockinette stitch. Therefore, I multiply by the density of the stockinette stitch. In stockinette stitch, there are 2.8 rows in 1 centimeter. I multiply and get 112 rows. We need to knit in stockinette stitch to achieve 40 centimeters in sleeve length. Of these 112 rows in stockinette stitch, there will be 12 rows with decreases in each row under the supervision. Thus, we take 112 rows, divide by 12 rows with decreases, we get 9.3 rows. Next, we derive the formula. How I calculate here. I take a whole number. I have 9 here, subtract 1. I write down 8 rows and then the next one row. 9 will be the row with the decrease. I wrote down just decrease for myself. That is, 8 rows, and in the 9th, I will have 2 decreases. And I need to repeat this 12 times. Why 12? Because here there are 12 rows. We get, look, 8 rows, plus 1 row with decreases, 9 rows multiplied by 12 times, we get 108 rows. But we need to knit 112 rows. Therefore, 112 rows, subtract 108, we are short by 4 rows. Thus, we rewrite this scheme, 8 rows. The next row is a decrease. Repeat 12 times plus 4 rows. Overall, this totals 112 rows, which is what we need. 112 rows to achieve the required sleeve length. We have written out the entire scheme. I hope it's clear to you. Now let's deal with the elastic band. Here the elastic band measures 4.5 centimeters. We measured with a tape measure. Yes, it should be approximately that. We multiply by the knitting density of the elastic band. The height of the elastic band is 3.3 rows in 1 centimeter. We multiply, and we get 14.8 fifths of a row. We round it to about 15 rows, that is after. Before we finish the stockinette stitch on the sleeve, by making decreases, we will knit 112 rows, switch to ribbing 2 by 2, and knit 15 rows straight. After we finish the stockinette stitch and make the decreases, we should have 44 stitches on the needles. We will then knit the ribbing straight with 44 stitches for 15 rows. That's all the calculations. Let's knit the sleeve. I am using needles number 4. This is the same size I used for the whole piece. And now we need to cast on 68 stitches according to our calculations. How do I do that? I divide 68 by 2. This gives 34, so I divide this entire circumference, right, into 2, meaning this half and this one. Therefore, I need to cast on 34 stitches here and 34 here to have it more or less even and symmetrical. Which means I need to cast on 34 stitches from this shoulder seam to the underarm. I count how many edge stitches I have roughly and estimate how I need to cast on the stitches. So that I end up with 34 stitches on this side. Here is my yarn from the ball, and see. I was inserting the needle not only into the edge stitch, but also into 1.5 half stitches. That is, here are our 2 half stitches. We turn it this way. And here is another one of those half stitches. That's how I do it. I was inserting the hook like this, not the needle, but the hook. Leave a bit of a long tail, so it can be easily hidden later. We take a hook such that there is no second hook here, making it easier to transfer the stitches to the needle later. We cast on a couple of stitches and transfer them to the needle. Here we have a braid of edge stitches, and we insert the hook a little further away. I do it this way. You can just grab the edge stitches as some do, and we check. To ensure that there are 34 stitches on this half, up to the shoulder seam, that's half of the stitches we need to cast on. We do the same on the other side, also 34 stitches. Let's continue casting on. We have cast on 68 stitches. We will hide those tails later. So, What we do next, where the shoulder seam is, we pull out the cord, remove one needle, and start to knit in the round. We knit all the rows in stockinette using the magic loop method. But for the first row, we knit with twisted stitches. This is necessary so that these cast-on stitches look good, and there are no holes, different openings, meaning I don't know how you cast on these stitches. But we knit them through the back loop, which is harder to knit. Our first stitch stretches because this is the end of the yarn. Here is how I make the loop. It's like knitting the needed front stitch for grandmother, but through the back. But in this row, we are knitting twisted. Therefore, I knit through the front wall. In my case, all stitches will be knitted through the front wall as a knit stitch. This is only the first row like this. If it's difficult to knit through the front wall, you can turn the stitch and knit through the back wall. It's easier that way. Thus, we knit all the stitches with twisted knits. 68 stitches I will have. This is our first row. "67, 68, we are done. We pull the cord. The cord always pulls out roughly on the shoulder strap. All this is our armpit, and we begin to knit the second row. So, we have knitted one row. We need to knit a total of 8 rows according to the pattern, and make 2 decreases in the 9th row. So we knitted the first row. Now I need to knit 7 more rows. Here we only knit the front stitches through the front wall, no twisted stitches. Twisted only in the first row, and we'll meet in the 9th row to make 2 decreases. Now this is my 9th row. So, how I make decreases, this is my armpit. Here I make the decreases. First, at the beginning of the row, I knit one from 2 stitches. At the end of the row, I leave one. I knit it straight. And in the 3rd stitch, I knit them together and get 1 stitch. You can skip leaving that middle stitch. You can decrease the first 2 stitches right away. Decrease the last 2 stitches as well. But I leave space between the decrease and this loop. The beginning of the row, as I do it, I knit the first 2 stitches together through the front loop. We have decreased 1 stitch. It results in a right-leaning decrease. Next, we knit straight through to the end of the row. I have knitted to the end of the row. I have 3 stitches left unknitted. This means I take the 3rd from the end off, as if knitting it front loop. I knit the 2nd stitch from the end, and place the slipped stitch over the knitted one. That is, we decreased a stitch with a left-leaning decrease. My last stitch in this row is simply a knit stitch. That's it. In this row, we decreased 2 stitches. It turned out not to be 68 stitches, but 66. This means that my last stitch, which I knit directly between the decreases, is right here. It should be exactly centered on the side of the sweater. And that's it. We will continue doing everything the same way. So, we have knitted our decreases once. We need to repeat them 11 more times. Since overall we need to make 12 repetitions, and we should end up with 44 stitches. Well, I have knitted our decreases 12 times. According to the pattern, we still need to knit 4 rows straight in the round. After that, we will switch to ribbing 2 by 2. So we have knitted 4 rows straight with 44 stitches in each row. Now we simply switch to ribbing 2 by 2. So, the first row of ribbing is knitted through the front loop. By the way, We are using size 3.5 needles now. They are smaller, yes, which we use for all our ribbing. We alternate, knitting 2 knit stitches through the front loop, and then 2 purl stitches through the front loop. This is in the first row. My purls are grandmother style. We finished to the end of the row. We have completed the first row and changed to smaller needles. The number of stitches should be a multiple of 4. As we will continue to knit ribbing 2 by 2, I had 44 stitches. Let's move on to the second row. In the second row, we knit the knit stitches through the front loop. And we knit the purl stitches using the purl technique through the back loop. This is how we knit in the second row, and in all subsequent rows. Well, now we knit the ribbing to the desired height by ourselves. I knit 15 rows of ribbing, 2 by 2. This is about 4.5 centimeters according to our calculations. I closed the ribbing with a needle. How to do this type of closure? I have a separate lesson prepared. Here is the link above. Go watch and close the sleeve. That's it, one sleeve is finished. We also knit the second one. I have already knitted it. So we just need to wash the jumper and dry it. Thank you for watching. Give a like if you knitted along with me. And of course, subscribe. There will be workshops on shoulder garments coming soon to the channel. There are also many lessons and other workshops on the channel.